I know the clock says, the calendar says it's 100 days of Donald Trump's second term, but it feels like day 300, doesn't it? I was listening to one of his aides on morning television say it doesn't feel like 100 days, and I know what they feel like. Got to spend some quality time there yesterday at the White House. I'm going to break it down with you. We've got some great content to share with you. It was really cool. So went over, if you watch the morning meeting, I did the morning meeting from the driveway of the White House and actually brought the folks who watched the morning meeting into the briefing room while Caroline was giving a briefing with Tom Homan. So that was kind of cool. If you watch the morning meeting, check it out. You can always go to my YouTube page and go back onto the live events and watch it if you did miss it or if you want to check it out. But it was kind of fun. And then we did part of this media row where we sat down with some of the senior officials, some of my former colleagues, some new people, and really talked about where we are in this administration, what they've done and what they've accomplished. It was really cool. And then, by the way, I'm going to get to this other really awesome briefing that I was part of as well, because I want to show you these. But one of the cool things after the interview that we did with some of these senior officials is Caroline held her first ever influencer briefing in a separate briefing room. It's in a place called South Court. You might remember that. That's where Joe Biden had that fake Oval Office where they've retrofitted it now. And anyway, it was cool. By the way, check this out. I was walking out. I'll jump ahead right now, but I was walking out, and of course, I saw the president's red Tesla there in the driveway. Take a look. You can see it there, just sitting there, waiting to be driven. Trying to figure out if someone could just hand me the keys or something. But anyway, like I said, I want to break down for you a couple of the interviews that we had to get inside the White House's discussion. There were some really cool visuals as I entered the White House yesterday. The White House had put all sorts of signs up of the illegal aliens in this country who are criminals. And it was a reminder the press couldn't escape staring at them. They really couldn't. And I'll show you some of the video here of what I'm talking about. Like the press, they put these signs up, the faces, the mugshots of the people, what they've been accused of, what they've done. And it was a reminder. The press literally could not cover it. And it was awesome because it's a reminder for all these people who like talk about a Maryland family man. Here it is. But anyway, I want to kind of work backwards from the day because one of the things that I did at the end of the day was I participated in this first ever White House influencer briefing. And it was really cool. Some of the people you guys know and follow, DC Drano, Rogan O'Hanley, Chad Prather, he's been on the show before. Erin Wexler, you know her as well. She's been on our show as well. Emily Austin was there. Several others. Simon Marshall had come in from Britain. Anyway, I was one of the first people to be part of this briefing. It was really cool what Caroline is doing to create more transparency, bring more voices in. I know the press hates this stuff because it minimizes their ability to control what we read, see, and hear. But the cool part about it is Caroline really talked about what they're doing and what this first 100 days mean and why they're able to reach out the way that they are. Take a look.
It's great to be with you. This is our first official influencer briefing here at the White House. I want to thank you all so much for joining us on what is day 99 of the Trump administration. And as I promised, as my first briefing as press secretary back in January, the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who traditionally has covered this institution. Tens of millions of Americans are now turning to social media and independent media outlets to consume their news. And we are embracing that change, not ignoring it. It's well past time that the White House press operation reflected the media habits of the American people in 2025, not 1925. And thanks to President Trump, a select group of DC-based journalists no longer have a monopoly over press access here at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices have a seat at the table now, and you being here today for this briefing proves that. Today officially marks the 99th day of promises made and kept by President Trump. Our primary focus today is how President Trump has fulfilled one of his central campaign promises to the American people in record time, ending the massive illegal invasion and securing our nation's southern and northern borders. As we know, Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal illegal aliens to pour into our country over the past 4 years. And as we all know, a significant number of those aliens have been vicious gang members, murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. Innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray, Rachel Morin, and many others have been murdered because of Joe Biden's open border. President Trump made a promise to the American people, to all of you and your audiences, to end the carnage and keep our country safe. And he has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. He immediately declared a national emergency on the southern border, deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion, and ended reckless catch and release policies. And as a result, between the inauguration and April 1st of this month, only 9 illegal aliens were released into the United States of America. This is a staggering 99.99% decrease from more than the 184,000 illegal aliens who were released into the country under Joe Biden during that same period last year. You can't get much better than 99.99% decrease. Total attempted illegal crossings at the southwest border hit a record low in February, only to fall to another record low again last month in March. President Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law, requiring illegal aliens arrested or charged with theft or violence to be detained. And he reestablished the successful Remain in Mexico policy from his first term. The president has also restarted construction of his signature border wall. More than 85 miles have been built and are in various stages of construction and planning. He designated cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, invoked the Alien Enemies Act to apprehend, detain, and remove these massive threats who have flooded our country. And the Trump administration, as you heard from our border czar Tom Homan earlier today, is working literally 24/7 around the clock to successfully arrest and deport illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities, your communities. We're in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. And despite the legacy media's fear-mongering and lies about this, we will continue with these successful operations because we know that's what the American people are expecting from this president, and that's why they overwhelmingly reelected him to this office. Over the past weekend, it was announced Operation Tidal Wave was a joint effort in ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies. Nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. I don't know if we have any Floridians in here, but you're welcome. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around the country. Large-scale operations employing our state and local law enforcement partners to get criminal aliens off our streets. And we will not apologize for this. This is the first of its kind multi-agency immigration enforcement operation coordinated by ICE with federal partners. And this multi-day operation has so far resulted in nearly 800 illegal aliens apprehended in 4 days, including MS-13 murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, and human rights abuses. So, safe to say President Trump made a promise to all of you, your audiences, and the American public to secure our nation's borders. He has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. And you will see the legacy media has nitpicked stories to try to drum up sympathy for people who broke our nation's laws. This White House has sympathy for American citizens, for law-abiding families who are doing what's right, who came here the right way. That includes legal immigrants who have come to this country, paid their dues, waited their turn, and are now being cheated and ripped off were being cheated and ripped off by the previous administration. We are putting Americans first every day, and we applaud the ICE agents and Border Patrol agents who are on the ground doing this important work. That's just the border. Of course, the president has been working incredibly hard to unleash the might of our economy here at home. He's in the process of negotiating fair trade deals abroad with many countries around the world who have come to the table because the president is using the leverage of this office of the United States of America to leverage our economic might and to cut good trade deals. You also look at what's happening on the world stage when it comes to foreign policy. The president has put the world on notice. They all understand that we have a commander-in-chief in the Oval Office who is going to put America and our troops first, who's going to do what's right for our country, our nation, our people, even if that means making tough decisions. And we are closer today to a peace deal in Russia and Ukraine, certainly than we were when we took office on January 20th. If you look at the situation in the Middle East, Israel has never had a stronger friend than they do right now in the Oval Office with President Trump. We've had more than 75 hostages who have returned home from around the world or wrongfully detained individuals. You can only do that if you have a president who's unafraid to use the leverage of the United States. So there are many accomplishments to talk about this week. I haven't even mentioned the restoring common sense effort of this administration to get men out of women's sports, to root out DEI and waste, fraud, and abuse from our federal bureaucracy. The president has done so much, in such little time, and we're working very hard here every day. We appreciate all that you do on social media to push what the president is saying, but also sometimes question it. And we relish independent journalism. And I hope you all have seen the president, myself, anybody in this administration. We are unafraid to take questions. This has truly been the most transparent and accessible presidency in American history.
All right. The cool part was, like a normal briefing, I got to ask questions. So did everybody else. There was no limits to what we could ask or no questions off the table. And the first thing I wanted to know was something that I've talked about a lot, which is, look, Republicans control the House and the Senate right now. We have a tenuous majority in the House. I mean, I know we're now at like a 4-seat majority, but I do worry that all these executive orders that President Trump put in the first term, that Biden took out in the second when he left office, and then when Trump put back in, it will be undone potentially. So how do we codify this in law? Because I think that's important. So this is how I framed my first question to Caroline.
First, as you mentioned, reconciliation. Beyond that and what he hopes to get out of that, considering how slim the House majority is, what other legislative priorities does he want to see codified in law before this Congress adjourns?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question, Sean. I think reconciliation is the first and foremost question on the president's mind right now. It's a huge deal. We have to get it done. He's working closely with Congress. In fact, he's meeting with Speaker Johnson, I think, in a few minutes today in the Oval Office to discuss this very bill and measure. Aside from reconciliation, which we hope and are very confident will include more funding for border wall construction and mass deportations, as I mentioned earlier, but it's also very important that we get tax cuts passed. That is the second step in the Trump economic agenda. The president has used every executive lever he can to slash burdensome regulation, and we continue to do that every day across every agency. Administrator Zeldin is doing a fantastic job at the EPA, I may add, but every cabinet secretary is getting rid of regulation very seriously. The president is certainly working on unleashing American energy to drive down costs, but tax cuts are a critical component of really seeing the Trump economic formula be put together. So he wants to see tax cuts passed in this reconciliation package. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors, of course, too. As for other measures that would be codified into law, certainly we've seen the president put forth common sense executive orders and take really common sense executive action that we would love Congress to take further action on to ensure that the president's executive actions can remain long after his tenure. So you don't have another president come in here in 8 years and undo some of the executive work that the president has worked so hard on. So we want Congress to continue getting to work, but we got to get this reconciliation bill passed first.
All right. So again, I mean, this is what we're talking about here. What are they going to do to make sure that we codify some of these really important things that President Trump has accomplished into law? I then went on because I wanted to ask her a question that I get asked all the time. Some of you guys put this in the comments. Sometimes I get asked places. It's like, why does he give credence to some of these left-wing reporters? I get it. I get asked this all the time, right? People want to know, like, why is he sitting down with the New York Times, the Washington Post, or Jeffrey Goldberg and Ashley Parker of the Atlantic? Or in the case of tonight, Terry Moran of ABC News. But I know the answer because I dealt with this during the first term, and I asked him, but I wanted Caroline to articulate it because I think it's important to remind people why President Trump does a lot of this. And so here's my question, and here's what she said.
But a lot of conservatives will ask me, why does he sit down with people like Terry Moran of ABC or Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic? What is the rationale behind that, rewarding people who have very vehemently expressed disdain for him personally?
Because the president is unafraid, and he is inspired by competition, and he likes to talk to people face to face. And I think that's one of his best attributes and qualities. We live in an incredibly divisive country, unfortunately, that has been really the result and consequence, frankly, of the fake news and the hoaxes and lies they have driven at this president for the better part of the last decade now. But the fact that we still have a president who has been a victim of these hoaxes, these lies, these smears by so many legacy media outlets and reporters, yet he's still willing to sit down with them, look them in the eye, look them face to face, and take them to task and share the truth with them and his perspective, I think is what the American people deserve in a president.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.